People who've worked for scam call centers, did you know? And if you didn't stayed, why? I got hired to work in a loans office on the phone, incoming calls. Basically they come across like a broker, telling people they qualified for certain loans and we would hook them up. We would then send a text with identical links to apply for loans. Pretty much every text had the same links. We charged them for a non-service. They weren't approved for anything. I hated the idea of working there. I thought I'd just get through the training and consider my options. I was hired by an agency, not the only time I was screwed over by an agency, who assured me that I'd easily make above the lower range of starting wages because I had call center experience. I'd also get to pick my shifts, etc. All lies. Shocker. A place that scams customers also scams employees. Yes, they refused to even show me a contract until I had worked for 2 days. I lasted 3 days, and probably wouldn't have stayed so long, but my husband's cousin worked there and thought the place was ace. I sent a scathing resignation email to the agent and the employer. Got a job at a telemarketing place once. First day was told if you are okay scamming people you can make a lot of money. After the intro class we were split into pairs and were told to listen into the experienced workers. Essentially how it worked was you call into a real company and the scammers would get phone numbers close to the reputable companies, so as you call in and are on hold, you think you are waiting to speak with them. A message would come on, with some kind of scam deal, a free trip, $1 subscription for 12 months that costs you hundreds later on, things like that. The very first call this confused senior, who thought she was waiting to speak with her bank. So she willingly gave out things like her credit card number ect. By the time she clued in and realized it was a scam and asked us not to process the information, the rep hung up on her and was actually laughing. Needless to say, I hopped on a bus home after that to go back to the want ads. Greater than first day was told if you are okay scamming people you can make a lot of money. I have this horrible image in my mind that they killed the people who walked out when that was stated. You're announcing that you're a criminal organization at that point to all your new hires. WTF. When I was about 19 I worked for a call center for 3 days. They were scamming everyone including the employees. First, shifts were only 3 hours long and you would be scheduled for 2 of those back to back, i.e. 9:12 and 12:30 to 3:30. This is because if you are scheduled for longer than that you are 1. Legally entitled to break time. 2. If you are scheduled for longer than 3 hours and get cut you have to be paid a minimum of 3 hours. The company would regularly cut you if you weren't bringing in enough money, you were then expected to return for your next shift. I'm sure they screwed people's paychecks somehow, but I walked out in day 3 and abandoned my paycheck. I walked out because that was the day I learned where the money went. See, we weren't selling shit, we were raising money for breast cancer research. The key piece that led me to quit was when I learned that 0.1% of all donations went towards the actual research. The remaining 99.9%? Well, it was lining pockets and funding other centers to scam people. I now only donate directly to a source and even then only after vetting them. Edit, spelling. I feel like an asshole, but I always say no when asked to donate to things in the checkout line or on street corners. I have no idea what percentage of my money is going to actually reach the charity, or if what they do with the money is something I support. No idea if it's true, but I remember reading an article like 3 years ago, about how stores use customer donations as a tax write-off. Like they make it look like the company is donating the money to charity so they get a tax break. If it is true, that stinks something rotten. For a while in Florida, go figure, I was selling back to the 50s concert tickets. This was to raise money for a police union, but we were told to start off every conversation with the Just Say No to Drugs program in schools, for the kids. Total scam. The concert was all of these has-been acts and barely anybody showed. Only lasted a couple of months. Many people have been scammed like that in Florida, especially the elderly. I don't know how many times I open the TV to watch the news hearing about another elderly how got scammed out of thousands of dollars because they were scared they were being convicted of a crime or that they needed a certain product because it was a requirement in the state, or if not they would lose their houses. It's very sad to see. Especially people with dementia or something like that. My grandfather has a type of dementia where he forgets things short term, so it would be easy for him to fall for the same scam twice because he can't remember if he paid the first time. Whenever he's by himself for long periods of time, somebody goes over to watch him to make sure he don't screw anything up, by which I mean we mostly make sure he doesn't take his medication too often because he forgets that he took it the first time. Do you guys ever get those scam calls at your work asking for your printer model number? Say, "Oh yes, here it is, FUC, and then they will yell obscenities at you and hang up. Very satisfying. I had a friend who worked at a scam call center and he didn't realize it until about 2 weeks after I told him that's what it was. When he first described the job to me, selling encyclopedias/educational books by cold calling. In 2010, I told him it sounds like a scam. Not that he's scamming anyone, but the business owners were. He insisted the owners couldn't be scammers because they're average white Americans. This scam call center was in a major US city. My friend was an American who had never left the USA. I had to pick him up from this job once. It was at some random office park. The owner and his wife were at the front desk, dressed like they were on a tropical vacation. We're nowhere near anywhere tropical, heavily tanned, just looked very out of place and kind of sleazy. I got to see the work area, which was a fold-up round table with a bunch of computers around it. The whole place looked like it could be packed up in a very short time and looked very sloppy. After he got in the car I told him the place looks extremely shady, to please quit before it gets raided or something because while I can't be sure, the owners are probably doing something illegal. He finally quit about a week later. I never figured out what happened to the business, but who the hell was buying books from a random phone call, even back in 2010? That reminds me of some scam back in college, where someone called to offer me free magazines. Wasted a bunch of time setting it up to be told at the end it was either $10 a week or $10 a month for the subscription. I can't recall, it was years ago. Told them I was not interested anymore, and it was cheaper to subscribe to the magazines individually. I'd say they know, yes. Next time you get one of those scam calls about your car's warranty, go ahead and push the button to be connected to a representative. Ask them so you know you're working for a scam company that is making unsolicited robocalls, right? Best you ever get is a sigh as they continue to read the script, if they don't just outright hang up on you. One time when I said that I haven't been in a car accident, the person's script told them to say I'm sorry. So they did, and I responded with "So you've called me to tell me you're sorry that I haven't been in a crash," and for whatever reason, they lost it laughing for a solid minute or two. Edit: I know I wrote this terribly, I'm sorry. I usually grab my acoustic and practice my singing skills on them because it's good to practice when someone is listening. Some Indian guy was laughing too the whole time last time I did it. My sister got scammed recently by fake cops. She kept asking to talk to a higher up and their higher up, etc. etc. They always had someone for her to talk to. I want to know how many people are on the average scam like that. Do they write a script? How do the logistics work like that? Why did my sister make such a dumb mistake? Lol. Greater than how many people are on the average scam like that? 4 accomplished voice actors. 2 are also pretty good at accents. Worked at one place when I was 19 or so that did public radio pledge renewals. Turned out the boss wasn't actually giving that money to anyone, just kept it. Bunch of suits and uniforms showed up and arrested him, shut the company down in the middle of the workday. No idea if he was ever convicted or what might have happened to him afterward. Probably jail. That sound like serious fraud. Oh, definitely fraud, probably federal since we were calling all over the country. I didn't follow the case so I can't say for sure what happened to him. Jail at the very least, but more likely a very long prison sentence. Not really scam call center, but a credit card upseller. Might as well be scam # Lola me right? I stayed for 2 years but the verbal abuse was too much at a point. Had an interview for me. Went in, felt dodgy. Went through into the guy's office. He's chatting away about the business fixing roofs and selling certain types. But you'll only answer incoming calls. As soon as he said that I knew he was full of shit. The callers closest to the office I watched do call-outs and "Hi, I'm calling from blah script." I deliberately fluffed the interview from then on and left as fast as I could. I worked for a company that sold coupon books for $20 a pop. They were signing up for a subscription that would charge them $30 per month after the first month, if they didn't cancel. I always emphasized the cancellation part, but know that I duped lots of people out of money. I made good money for a college student, $14 an hour, plus commission, and I was one of the top sellers on my shift, so got quite a bit extra. People would call in, so I didn't do cold calls, which made me feel a little better. Between calls, I read comics. I put in my 2 weeks so I could focus on school, but when I went to work the next day, they were shut down. Everyone was crying in the parking lot, except me. We were all getting 2 weeks severance. You're desperate for a job. They call you and it seems legit enough. You go through training and it's fun, the people in your training class are all pretty cool, the managers make you feel special, you think you might actually like this. Then it happens, you get on the phone, first real day of work, and after the 5th person hangs up you realize that you are one of those people. How did I not see this before? But your managers are behind you, cheering you on, telling you not to lose steam, offering free lunches. You get conflicted. You know it's wrong. I worked there 2 days, the 3rd day I came to work, clocked in, looked around and just got up and left. I went through the 6-week training and left after. I caught on pretty quickly that they were the bad guys and I was going to be asked to do some dubious shit regularly, so I milked the paid training and quit the day I was supposed to finally get on the phones. Lamau. A friend of mine worked at a call center for political donations in the previous presidential elections. It wasn't a scam per se, but they had scripts to follow for various things that were just horrible. Example, if you called for Mr. Johnson and his widow picked up, you had a script to guilt the loved one into donating because it was clearly the legacy he wanted and anything else would be a disservice to his memory. If you want some top quality scam interaction, check out Kit Burger on Twitch. He does a stream where he calls up numerous scam call centers and wastes their time in a very entertaining manner. Afterwards he confronts them and has even gotten a few of them to quit. My favorites are the PC repair scams where he has them connect to his virtual PC. Scam Revolts is good, too, as he actually gets into the scammers' computers. Well, it took a bit of time, but then I finally quit my job at Comcast. Rubs nipples while listening to complaints. You forgot to open the nipple flaps first. After I started at one selling credit cards to old people on social security/disability, I realized what I was being told to do and I walked out. That place was absolutely awful, and I legitimately felt bad for anyone I successfully duped into signing up with their one-time lifetime member card activation fee of $199.99. Worked a call center in college, lasted all of 2 hours. We were collecting for some state trooper support fund or something, and there was a manager circulating on the floor with his own manager's headset where he could come plug in and listen in on your calls. Dude was a tool, total Colin Farrell's character from Horrible Bosses type, you know that guys, dark purple dress shirt with skinny black tie, chain wallet, bad goatee, starting to lose his hair at 25, drives a Sentra with an expensive stereo in it and smells like clove cigar threats, that guy. Cut into a call where this elderly lady went from "sorry, I can't contribute anything this year" to "because I'm having surgery and blah blah," and Todd or Chad or whatever his name was is all bro. You just need to cut people like that off and get to the next call. Fuck I just realized that was not what I wanted to spend my time doing. Greater than dark purple dress shirt with skinny black tie, chain wallet, bad goatee, starting to lose his hair at 25, drives a Sentra with an expensive stereo in it and smells like cloves, cigar tracks loose the chain, wallet and car, and I'd think you might be describing me at 25. It wasn't a scam. But I needed a job in college, so I went to the job fair. First booth I approached was the Alumni Center, connected with the hiring manager, and got the job on the spot. Come to find out, we had to cold call alumni and ask for a gift to the university. The cherry on top was that I was assigned a list of numbers of alumni who had graduated in the 60s and 70s. Few calls ended with widows upset or crying I was asking for their deceased spouse. I lasted 2 weeks and no called, no showed. Not my proudest moment, but needed out. Greater than the cherry on top was that I was assigned a list of numbers of alumni who had graduated in the 60s and 70s. My school had the opposite problem. They called me for a donation while I was still a student. Like, fuck you, I'm already paying inflated prices for tuition. At least wait until I'm in the workforce before you ask for more. My college included a $2 bill in the diploma at graduation. After you shook people's hands and walked off stage, there was a donation box that asked you to start donating back to the college now. That royally pissed me off. It's like I'm still at graduation and you're hitting me up for money. I owe tens of thousands of dollars because of this school. Fuck off. I kept that $2 bill in my wallet until it literally fell apart. Edited for clarity. I recommend you all listen to Reply All's podcast episode on this. Absolutely amazing. Can't talk about any in the US, but my wife regularly gets calls on her business line, forwarded to our house since she works from there, from Indian call centers pretending to be Microsoft. She likes to lead them on, and just when they think they're going to get access to her PC, she turns on them and tries to make them feel like shit. Do you know that you're preying on old people? How would you feel if someone did this to your mother or grandmother? And then do you have any spiritual beliefs? Do you know you're probably going to come back as a cockroach in the next life? Greater than can't talk about any in the US, but my wife regularly gets calls on her business line, forwarded to our house since she works from there, from Indian call centers pretending to be Microsoft. It's real fun when you are a software engineer for Microsoft and one of your co-workers gets these and you laugh. Your co-worker, oh, you work for Microsoft, which building? What's your office number? Them, a clever but not bright one, makes something up. Your co-worker, oh well, I'm on campus right now, I'll come over to talk to you in person. The smart ones know their gig is up the moment you ask that. I constantly call the CRA scammers from India to waste their time. One time I talked to a guy who was new and got his training. He was legit and hated his job. I got his phone number and we talked via WhatsApp. He legit thought it was real until the second day and quickly learned it was a scam. He felt awful doing it and quit not long after, but was afraid he'd get killed because it's all organized crime there. They apparently bribe cops to look the other way. They know. I've called these callers out before. I say things like, put down the script, buddy. And then they say they're not reading a script. And then you can hear them frantically turning the pages of their script to find the objection response for calling them out on having a script and what to say next to try and sell you something. So true. It's just so blatant that you couldn't care less. So I work in a third-party call center for US Health, and my god, if they aren't a scam, then I don't know what is. I hate this job with a passion and fully plan on quitting once I can land another job. Last time I lost a job, I went 6 months and probably 200 applications later before landing this shithole of a gig. Don't particularly want to do that again. If anyone is wondering why I think one of the biggest health insurance companies is a scam, they make every applicant go through a 20 to 30 minute long health history questionnaire that's worded in a way to specifically confuse people. Depending on your past health history, you can be flat out denied. Ever had any kind of DUI or DWI or any run-in with the law, even if it was 15 plus years ago? Denied. Any kind of cancer? Denied. Smoking/tobacco use? Denied. Seen a chiropractor regularly, even only for general wellness cause it feels good? Denied. As far as I can tell, they specifically look for healthy people so they can charge them hundreds of dollars every month knowing they won't have to pay out. There are a few people who have one of the above who managed to slip through, but that is because one of the verifiers screwed up and input the wrong information. Hell for the cancer one, all a verifier has to do is place ONC at the end of the doctor's name and you will be denied. Even if you said no to having cancer. So yeah, I hate this job with a passion and hope to leave soon. A properly qualified major medical health insurance approved by the ACA, by law, cannot discriminate for pre-existing conditions, with exception to adjusting prices based on age and smoker status, but still no outright denials. These would likely then be temporary health policies which by and large are indeed scams. If you don't know, sometimes people who are hearing impaired have these special phones that can caption any calls that come through. I used to be a captioning agent and was captioning a scam call. Now at that company we have to caption every single call no matter the context. No exceptions. It was some Middle Eastern sounding guy pretending to call the police to frighten this elderly woman into giving him money. The woman was on the verge of crying, but that bastard would not let up. I was not having it. It's totally against regulation, but I told the lady it's a scam and just stopped captioning in the middle of the call until the dude hung up. Fuck those scammers. My aunt works for similar place. But they have the right to stop it if they know it to be a known scam. They also stop it if someone threatens the person on the call. That's actually really cool. I almost worked for a scam that was a water filtration company posing as a non-profit trying to get water to developing countries. I quit during orientation when I was told I needed to pay $400 for a starter kit. I worked for a call center for about a month that bugged people to donate to charities with very similar names to actual charities, but less than 1% of the pledge would actually go towards a charity. When I found this out, I felt anxious about it and left, basically ghosting on it. No manager or employee of any kind even so much as called once when I missed my next shift. I just stopped showing up and then never heard from anyone again. A few weeks later I got a call to my landline, that I don't give out, asking if I wanted to come work for the exact same company. In my head I was like, do you guys even remember that I literally did work there and then just stopped showing up? Oh, okay then. Definitely how a legitimate and not shady corporation would act. So more than 99% of the money would go to the scam call company? If so, that's messed up. Worked at the place that didn't drug test and will hire anyone in high school. Same thing, but 5% went the first time and 50% in future donations. Overhead was probably insane though. I don't think mine was a scam, but it was incredibly sketchy. It was a call center where we cold called people to try to set them up with a college that offered majors they were interested in. Doesn't sound terrible, but we were only set up with certain colleges and these people needed to fit a certain criteria. One of them being having a home computer with access to the internet. Access to a library did not count. There were a surprisingly large amount of people that did not have that. That's not the sketchy part, that's just sad. But plenty of people yelled at us and wanted to be put on a do not call list. What was sketchy was that if you've applied for jobs online like Career Builder, Monster, etc., oftentimes after you fill out an application there will be a box asking for your phone number to be contacted that was not related to the application at all, and that was how we got people's phone numbers. It was also sketchy we were only set up with certain colleges, that's how we got kickbacks, but we clearly didn't have these people's interest in mind at all. They tried to implement something where you were only allowed a certain amount of bathroom breaks, as a female that doesn't. So I eventually stopped showing up, fuck that place. Often that box is designed to look like part of the application too. I worked in a call center during my senior year of high school along with a few other guys from our DECA class. We had to get a job and somehow this one attracted a few of us. Basically we would cold call and tell people you get a $100 Shell gift card and all you have to do is sign up for this service at $29.95 per month and you can cancel any time. We were selling free gas. Come to find out the service we were selling was not something you could cancel right away, and it required a 60-day notice. The gas card wouldn't be sent out for 90 to 120 days, and it wouldn't be sent out at all if you cancelled before then. So basically you'd have to give 60 days cancellation notice after you received your card. 120 days equals 4 months. 29.95 by 4 equals $119.80, and then 60 days cancellation equals 2 more months. They made about $180 for nothing and spent $100 on a gas card once they got their money. Fuck them. I made $1,000 plus that week as a 17-year-old, so I was stoked. Then I found out what was happening, and we all just spent the day saying was up to people we were connected with on the phone and never went back. Worked for an environmental non-profit as a teen, doing calls and going door to door. I didn't really understand the legislation we were getting signatures for, but hey, it's good for the environment. A very nice hippie lady invited me in and explained that the non-profit I was working for was financed by the oil companies and was trying to backdoor a way to remove any liability for spills in the Gulf. I did some research and, sure enough, that was indeed the case. Told everyone in my office. About half were horrified and the other were like, hey, it's a living. I left, and so did many others. It was a trash place to work anyway, as you were paid by how much you brought in donations. Did you go back and tell the hippie lady? I bet she'd be glad to know she made a little difference by educating you.